What's up, guys? So the first thing that I'm going to want to do for choosing an investment here and setting the automation up first is to decide for what purpose I want to make this investment. So in order to do that, I'm going to write it down here. And maybe I can write it in some kind of ink that you can see. Okay, so nice retirement. All right. So it's going to be on that side over there. Maybe make it a little smaller. Don't need it to be that big. Okay, so that's the goal. Okay. Now the money vehicle that I'm going to use, right, and this is after I've done a little bit of research, and people just say in general it's nice to use, and you probably saw it on my January financial statements review, is that I'm going to use a tax advantaged vehicle as the saving or the investment vehicle to fund the my nice retirement here. Okay, so that's going to be my investment vehicle. I'm going to take this from here, investment account, right? I guess, why not? And it's going to be after tax account. But I mean, I can get more descriptive here. I can call it a Roth IRA. Okay. And to decide what it is that I'm going to put inside the Roth IRA, right? Well, that's going to require me to do a little bit more research. Okay, so the Roth IRA is going to be there. There's going to be, put money into the Roth IRA, but then once the money is there, I need to execute a trade to exchange the money for something like a stock or a mutual fund or index fund or house or something like that. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the coaching program. We're going to look at my example here, okay? What the heck? I'll just walk you through it. I'll just walk you through it with all the animations and everything. So for the example, my goal is to have, save for a nice retirement. So I'm going to do monthly auto transfer, withdraw it if I ever need it. It's going to be there indefinitely, basically. And then monthly, yearly withdraw when I do start taking it out. Okay. So I have choices, right, from before. I have all these different kinds of choices for money vehicles. Right away, I kind of understand that keeping the money in the palm of my hand is not going to be very feasible. Putting it in a piggy bank is not going to be very feasible, and exchanging it for like fine art or cars or some kind of physical asset, whatever, is not going to be very feasible as well. At least it could be, but for me, physically, and also like at the stage at which my life is in, it's not going to make much sense. Plus, I'm not really an art guy, so whatever. So I'm going to look at financial institutions and then a kind of thing, in which, to keep inside the financial institution, like the account and the stock or whatever. So taking this chart from before, I'm just going to go through and check off, circle the ones that I want to do some research on. So I'm going to look at the taxable accounts, brokerage accounts, right? That's the ones that make sense. The other ones don't really, because of the time duration, right? The money is going to be in there for 30 plus years, maybe 40 or even 50 plus years. So a checking account is not that great for it, because remember the money formula, right? Losing money over time because of price increases and inflation. Savings account, same deal. CDs, certificate of deposits, they should really be called certificates of depreciation. That's what they do. They depreciate. You put money in there, you think it's safe, but you got robbed. So a brokerage account is where I can buy assets like stocks, bonds, etc. So that's going to be my choice. And putting it in the palm of my hand, I can't really keep it there my whole life. So tax deferred, it's going to be TIRAs and 401ks. I don't have a 401k at work, so it might be the traditional IRA I might look at. And then tax advantaged would be the Roth IRA. To me, the rest of these options don't really make that much sense. Although I do want to buy disability insurance, But that is not going to be for retirement. That's going to be for something else. Cash value life insurance might make sense. I haven't decided on that yet. And long-term care benefits, something that I might decide to purchase later on, but not right now. And I'm not saving for college, so there's no point in using a college savings account. Okay. All right. And tax-free. Oh yeah, tax-free health savings account, because it's basically like an IRA if I don't use it for health expenses. All right. So let's pretend that I just did a whole bunch of research now, and that's what you should do. Do a whole bunch of research, find out what tax or what money vehicle is going to be best for your situation. I have decided that the Roth IRA is a good place for me to put this money, okay? Because I can get it in there very easily with a monthly auto transfer and monthly auto invest. If I ever need it, I can withdraw the basis penalty free, and then I can also take out all the growth, after a certain age. I think it's 60 or something, 59 and a half. Then all the growth is tax free, and I can also do a monthly or yearly withdrawal on it. So it fits all my criteria. This Roth IRA type of account does. Okay, so now I've decided that the money vehicle is going to be a Roth IRA. Now, what am I going to put inside the Roth IRA? Okay, like I can put money in there, right? But I want to exchange the money for something that's going to help me more so have a nice retirement than just dollars is. So we come back to this thing, and this criteria is going to help me define this, like the real return over time. I want to get that as high as possible. Because it's a Roth IRA, I've already taken care of the taxes, so I don't have to worry about taxes and stuff as I'm going to take it out of there. So any money that's in there is fair game. I don't have to include taxes in this calculation. If it was if it was a tax deferred account, then I would have to account for taxes. I would have to take off, 25% off of the growth that I calculate for it. Okay. So now, these are just some, I've done this research before, and this is how I decided that just a broad-based ETF similar to the S&P 500 or an S&P 500 ETF itself or mutual fund makes a lot of sense for me. I'll just walk you through kind of like the research that I did here. But this chart shows a 1-year return distribution for the real returns of a S&P 500 investment. Okay. And on the y-axis, you have the probability. And on the x-axis, you have the amount, the amount of the real return. So, for example, and then there's also 2 lines. There's one for dividends. If you reinvest the dividends, like a brokerage, when you make an investment choice, is going to ask you, hey, do you want to reinvest the dividends? The blue line represents what happens if you reinvest the dividends all the time. And no dividends is the red line. Okay, so for example, the probability of getting a real, there's no numbers on the probability line, but the most probable thing to happen if you invest in the S&P 500 and reinvest dividends after 1 year is to have maybe a 8 or 9% return. That's the most probable thing to happen. However, there have also been times where after a year you get like a 55% return. There's also been times where you've gotten a minus 40% return. So what this chart is showing you is kind of like if you were to play darts and you wanted to invest in the S&P 500, you'd throw a dart randomly. You'd be most likely to hit here and get, around a 9 or 10% return. But you could also get anywhere along this line. So, for example, right, if you wanted to buy a house, the S&P 500 is not going to be the best place for you to put it, because what happens if you end up here? Like it's not exactly 50%, but it's something like 40% of the time you are going to have less than what you started with in there after a year, right? So, yeah, that's why you want to evaluate that. Remember what that is? That's why you want to evaluate this real return over time as one thing, one entity, not split it up. Okay, so this is the 1 year. Now if we go into the 5 year, this is what it looks like. So the things just move to the right a little bit. The probability that you're going to have a negative return after 5 years investment in the S&P 500 has now gone down. And the most probable return is something like, 7% or something like that. Okay, real return with dividends reinvested. Now let's put it to 30, okay? 30. If we go 30 years into the S&P 500, this is what the chart looks like. If you have reinvested dividends, there is no way from 150 years of data, there has not been a single time where over the course of 30 years you end up with less money than you started with. The most probable outcome for putting your money into the S&P 500 after 30 years is just about under 7% year over year growth, right? So this is pretty good. And it also kind of shows you that you do want to reinvest your dividends. Because if you don't, well, this is what your chart would be like. You'd most probably get a 2% return, real return, and that's not very good. If you reinvest dividends, though, this is what your results are going to look like. And this is the most average, the most probable, okay? But even if you end up here or if you end up here, it's still going to be pretty good. So I look at this and I say, well, it sounds like this is pretty nice, okay? If I invest into the S&P 500, and my money is going to be there for like 30 years or more, then I'm happy with these results. If I end up getting just under 7% real growth, right, accounting for inflation and all that, then, all right, that sounds pretty good. So I'm going to use 7%. I'm going to use 7% over 7% per year compound annual growth rate as my growth estimator or whatever, right? And if I go back into the tool and look and see for the last 150 years, right, from 1871 to 2020, adjusted for inflation and including dividends, my annualized return, my true compound annual growth rate is 7.06%. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I'm going to say, okay, all right, sounds good to me. And it's very low maintenance. I don't have to really think about it. You know, after I do the research, I just make a decision and it's like, that's where it's going to be and that's what's going to happen. I want to make a note here. You see the average return is 8.7%. You don't want to use this number for evaluating anything, any investments, because it doesn't take into account negative years as well, right? The compound annual growth rate does. And if you look at, number, maybe I'll make another video about this because there's a big concept there too. But percentages kind of work out differently than averages. And if you want to go over a long period of time, you want to look at the compound annual growth rate. I'll do a quick example. Let's say that you have $10, right? And you lose 50% of the fingers. Then you lose 50% of the fingers, you have now 5 fingers left. Now let's say you gain 50% of your fingers, all right? Now you gain 50% of 5 fingers, now you have 2.5 fingers. You have 7.5 fingers, okay? The average return of losing 50 and gaining 50% is 0. Your average return in this case is 0. Your compound annual growth rate in this case is negative, 25%. It's not exactly negative 20, but it's negative. The compound annual growth rate is going to more accurately reflect what actually happened here. You started year 1 with 10 fingers, and you ended year 2 right? You lost 50% and then you went up another 50%. Your CAGR is going to more accurately describe, or it's going to accurately describe what happened here. After 2 years, you lost 25% of your investment. That's what it's going to be. The average return is 0%, so it doesn't tell you what really happened. So that's it. I've decided. I've made the decision that I'm going to put a S&P 500 index fund or similar into a Roth IRA, and that is going to help me with my nice retirement. All right. All right. All right. All right. So if I'm going to come back over here, what I'm going to do is say I already have chosen the mutual fund that I'm going to buy. It's called VTSAX. It's a favorite among the FIRE community, and it's the one that I've already been investing in a lot. So I'm going to use that one. Just keep it simple, keep the things the same. I've already done my research and due diligence on it, so I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel here. Okay. So the Roth IRA, this is going to be for my nice retirement. Okay. That's the goal that this whole setup is going to support. Okay, and now I just have to define how the money is going to get in there. So I think what I'm going to do is send money from a savings account every month into the Roth IRA. Now I haven't really exactly decided. I need to clean up the savings account a little bit and get that organized, because right now there's a bucket in there for emergency fund, opportunity fund, that type of thing. But now I'm using the savings ledger, so this is a little bit redundant. So I might just reduce this to a little thing like that. Okay. Yeah, why don't I just do that? This makes it a lot easier. And there's 616 going in there per month. So I can take some plumbing from the savings account and put that into the Roth IRA. Okay. And let's say, 616 per month. Oh, wait, I should do a calculation here. Okay. Because the Roth IRA has a contribution limit per year. You can put $6,000 into it for 2021. So if I want to do that over 12 months, I can put $500 in there every month. Okay, so let's just do that. Let's plan to max it out. Okay, and I'm starting in January. If I start in January and I start the second one in February, then it's going to be perfect. After 12 months, I'm going to have $6,000 in there. Okay, so that's what I'm going to go do. I'm not gonna sit here and like open or go through all the account steps and stuff, because there's going to be way too much stuff to like block out and that kind of thing. But basically, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to set this up, put in a automatic, first I need to connect these two accounts, right? So I can transfer money to them or in between them. And then set up a automatic buy so that when the money comes in here, I should really put the money in there. Should really put the thing there. That 500 per month is going to be bought of this investment here. Okay, and that's it. There's the first investment. See, that wasn't so hard. I've been putting off making this video for a long time because I was like, it's going to be so complicated. But it really wasn't. It's very simple. It's very easy to do. Okay, all right. So there we have it. That's it. That's it. That's it. The investment is made. It's on this piece of paper thing here, so it's basically already happened. You know that from before.